What is going on, everybody? We finally made it. It is the last episode of Play Like a Jet Live with You Stadium before we get into the NFL regular season. It is exciting. As always, I'm Luke. We have Clay and Kayla with us, the Play Like a Jet team. And also we're joined by a special guest from the wrong side of town. We've got Drew Gier from the Rock Power Report. So, Drew, appreciate you jumping on. You might remember Drew was with us for the schedule release a couple of months ago. So, guys and girls, how's everyone going?
We're doing well.
Love it. So what we're going to jump into, everybody, we're going to start with a little bit of topical news. We're going to go into Shaq Lawson and talk about him schematically. Obviously, he was with Buffalo, so Drew's a really good resource for that. Talk about the Jets' defensive line, which is going to be crucial for them winning this game. And then we're going to jump into everything week one with the Carolina Panthers, and we're going to discuss some bets, some predictions, X factors, and all that good stuff, so you don't want to miss it. Wanted to start, though, Drew, looking at Shaq Lawson, defensive end, was drafted by Buffalo, spent some time in Miami. Last year was his most successful season. And from a pressure rate, I think that was because of the Dolphins scheme. So much linebacker pressure, mugging the A-gap, just more favorable one-on-one matchups. What are your overall thoughts on Shaq Lawson from his time in Buffalo?
Shaq Lawson, I feel like, gets a really bad rap from a lot of Bills fans. But you have to understand the situation he was drafted into here. Doug Whaley goes out and gets this guy who Rex Ryan says, you know what, this guy is going to make a mean outside linebacker in my system. And then he comes in and right out of the gate, they find out, oh, he's got a shoulder injury. And they say, well, wait a minute, didn't this come up in his pre-draft stuff? And they said, well, yeah, kind of, but we figured he could play through it. And that didn't turn out to be the case. He ended up having to be shelved. He had surgery, so he lost a huge portion of his rookie year. So that put a bad taste in everybody's mouth. And then he never quite, it took him a very long time to catch on in general to the idea of playing a defensive end role or a pass rusher role, point blank and period at the NFL level. And I feel like he's going to go down as one of those players. Now, I feel like everybody's dated a girl like this. No offense, Kayla, but everybody's dated a girl like Shaq Lawson as a football player. Everything looks great. You want it to go so much better and be so much better than it is, and it just never seems to get there. And then inevitably you break up, and then you find somebody else, and you're like, oh, okay, now I see all the reasons that this couldn't have worked. That's who Shaq Lawson was for the Buffalo Bills. I mean, his final season here, I think it's telling. You want to talk about from an advanced stats point, he never got more than 47% of the snaps here in any season in Buffalo. And that kind of speaks to this idea that he was nothing more than a rotational player, right? He had all the physical intangibles in the world that you would want from a guy. Heavy hands. He seemed to have a little bit of burst to his game. He could set the edge against the run, but he was never good enough to take over as a starting defensive end. And his final season here was his most successful in a Bills uniform. And what I saw from that is probably what he is at this point as a professional, because to your point, a lot of his production in Miami last year was, and I mean, it was kind of a step back from his career high 6.5 sacks his last season in Buffalo. But he was scheme reliant, which is kind of what he's been. His final season in Buffalo, he puts up 6.5 sacks. But when you watch the context that they came in, you saw him getting a lot of sacks where he was they'd bring him in and then they'd pull a stunt with the defensive lineman. And then he would come in and clean up the quarterback sack or the pressure, or he'd create some kind of tackle for loss, or he'd penetrate after the fact. Oftentimes, it wasn't so much him creating his own defensive plays, it was the scheme generating them, which is why you saw a lot of what you saw of him in Miami. Great guy, high motor guy. You're never going to see him take plays off. He doesn't seem to wear down when you get late in games, which is good. It's obviously what you want to see from a defensive lineman who you're going to spend a lot of time with. But at the same time, his ceiling is relatively low for, I think, here in Buffalo, at least, what he was supposed to be for us. Now, that all changes when you're talking about what the Jets can expect from him, or at least what I think it comes down to what your expectations for him are. And as long as they're relatively reasonable, I think your fan base will be pretty happy with him.
Yeah. Taylor, I think it's important to remember that he's not Carl Lawson, is he? Because I don't think Jets fans can expect, as Drew just pointed out, him to come in and fill that role. He's going to be a rotational starter on the right side of the defensive line.
Yeah, absolutely. And to me, it's sounding like, too, based on what Drew's saying, that If Saleh gives him an assignment and sets him up to complete that, he'll be able to do it. And that's kind of what we're looking for at this point. I don't think anyone was expecting to come in and get a player of equal caliber to Carl Lawson stepping in that spot. So if he can show up and play hard and execute when Saleh needs him to, I think that's what we're looking for. And I think that's what we can expect.
Yeah, Clay, we saw a career year out of Kerry Hyder last year in the San Francisco scheme. He's now moved across to Seattle. But you know that Robert Saleh has the ability to get the most out of these guys. Their defensive line was banged up. He's still an upgrade over what we had opposite Bryce Hall at this stage of the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, we saw San Fran last year deal with a lot of injuries on the defensive line, a lot, losing Nick Bosa and all these guys. And that's why Kerry Hyder kind of had another breaking out party after his first one in Detroit. But no, I mean, he's going to have to make that magic again. Granted, he doesn't have Richard Sherman on the outside, doesn't have Jason Verrett and all the guys in the secondary. But he does have Quinn Williams, and he has John Franklin Myers, and a rotation of guys in the interior of the line that I think could really help propel a guy like Shaq Lawson. Because you think that he's going to be lining up next to Quinn Williams quite a bit. And we already know Quinn Williams is going to get a lot of attention in this defense because, I mean, we're pretty certain that they're not going to be bringing 5-6 guys very often. Like, they want to get to the quarterback with 4 if they can, maybe 5 occasionally, but they're not. Saleh's not a big blitzer. He's not Rex Ryan. Like, yes, he coached defense. That's the only similarity he has to Rex Ryan. Totally different mentality. So I think from an expectation standpoint for Shaq Lawson, for me, I'm expecting him to get 4 or 5 sacks, and hopefully he gets more. But we traded a 6th-round pick for him, and he was a 1st-round pick that didn't really pan out in Buffalo. He was traded to Miami, right?
Well,
or was he a free agent?
No, it's actually, and this is one of the things that makes me sad because I got a chance to meet him. He's a great guy, but his career is one of those cautionary tales of chasing the money and a lot of these things that go on. The Buffalo Bills wanted to retain him. You know, we saw that as a rotational D end, hey, for a fair price. Kyle Smith. Hey, if you think you can lift me, tough guy, if you think you can lift me, you can put me through a table. So one of the things about Shaq Lawson is they saw promise in him. Now you got to figure he was drafted to be an outside linebacker in Rex Ryan's 3-4 scheme. Then Sean McDermott comes to town and he has to learn how to be a 4-3 hand in the dirt defensive end. And so again, he's thrown this learning curve. So it takes him to his final season here, but it finally starts to catch on. And they start to carve out a role for what he can be in this defense. And they say, okay, we'll offer you $10 million to stay here over like a 3-year deal. It's not huge money, but it's a bridge deal that could get you to a bigger contract in a year or two if you really do continue to grow the way we think you can. Unfortunately, Miami comes in and offers him, I think it was like a 3-year deal worth like $12.5 million a year. And that extra $2.5 million a year was enough that he said, you know what, they're ponying up more money and I got to make a decision for my family. He even said it. He said, Buffalo made a great offer, but I had to follow the money. Well, then he lasted 1 season there, and I still can't figure out what Chris Grier is doing or why everyone loves that guy so much. But he signs this guy to a deal and then immediately trades him the next year because it didn't go exactly as they planned. He didn't get as many sacks. He didn't get as many pressures. But I think the thing fans need to realize is he got put back into a different defensive scheme. He's no longer a hand-in-the-dirt 4-3 defensive end. Now they're asking him to play this hybrid outside linebacker role again. And he's got to relearn what his responsibilities are, what his techniques are. They didn't have any patience in Miami. They ship him out after just signing him for peanuts. He gets sent over to Houston. So you could have signed with the Bills, who are a contender. You left to go for more money and ended up on the worst roster in football. Find me a worse roster than Houston. So now this guy's in football hell. He's looking around going, what did I do? And then the injury to Carl Lawson happens, and he gets saved from that by coming to the New York Jets, where he's now going to have to hopefully knock off what's not too much rust and resume that role of a hand-in-the-dirt 4-3 defensive end. I think there's going to be a small learning curve for him. I think it takes a little bit of time to there's very few players who can go back and forth seamlessly from being an outside linebacker to being a edge setting, hand down kind of lineman. Not many players have ever really been able to do it. So now you're going to watch him try to relearn. And I think by mid-season, if he can stay healthy and the team can really find ways to work with him in their scheme, I think it could go really well by week 5 or 6. I think out of the gate, having high expectations for him is a little bit hard, but I ultimately think he'll get there because he's already shown he can do it now that he learned it here in Buffalo.
Yeah. And I saw a question flash up on the screen, Splash. Maybe put that up again about how much Shaq Lawson is going to be paid this year. He's going to cost the Jets around $1.49 million in cap space. Houston took on the rest. So it's pretty much you're getting him for nothing. It's a good bet for a 6th-round pick. I like it. Drew, let's get down to business now. You're a Buffalo fan. This is a New York Jets show. We're going to dive into it later, so I won't get your takes, Kayla and Clay. But what do you think of this matchup between the Jets and the Carolina Panthers, Drew? The Panthers are currently 5.5-point favorites in most betting books, both at the money line, head-to-head, and also at the line. Who do you like in that game?
I mean, I look at this. We actually talk with Scott Mason every single week over on our AFC's Roundup podcast. And we made the joke that last season he was coming on our show essentially to be the equivalent of a WWF jobber. The guys that the Brooklyn Brawlers, the guys who don't have actual names, they just come in to get beat up by some superstar and make them look good. And that's what the Jets were last year. And I think that Vegas still has a taste of that in their mouth, this concept that the Jets may have improved, they may have gotten a new scheme and a new coach, but that's not enough in their minds to forget that you were a 2-win team last year. And I think that's what's driving a lot of this, because it's really difficult to say that the Jets roster didn't get better from where it was last year, and that they don't have a better decision maker, that they don't have better coaches in terms of game planning. So with that in mind, 5 points seems crazy to me, especially in a Panthers team that has no idea what they're going to get from Sam Darnold. I think this one's a tough one. This is why I don't bet on sports, because I think I know more than I actually do. Like, I dig into these things and I just look at this and I say to myself, these Jets players, there's going to be a chip on their shoulder not to lose to Sam Darnold, right? Especially after some of the things he said lately, some of the shade that's been thrown at the Jets as if they were somehow the reason Darnold wasn't great. I don't buy any of that for a second. But I think that Carolina's in a tough spot because their defense wasn't phenomenal last year. They had a lot of games where they were kind of getting it hung on them. I mean, especially later in the season. I mean, did they improve so much that they should be these unprohibitive favorites over the Jets? I don't think so. I think that especially when you have a team like the Jets, who now you have almost no tape on what they are. You haven't seen the way they're going to operate an offense. I mean, I think we all have an idea, right? You guys are going to play a ball control style of offense. You're going to take some play action driven shots downfield now and again. You're going to use that to open up the passing game and make life easy on Zach Wilson. I don't know what the Panthers offense looks like under Sam Darnold, but we have an idea for what their team is as a whole. And I mean, I don't know. They were the team that was giving up 32 points to the Broncos. They're the team that was, I think their final game, it was 33-7. They had just quit on themselves and on their coach and on everything else they had going on there. This isn't a foregone conclusion, even from somebody who doesn't like the Jets and who doesn't like the idea of you guys winning football games. That you guys can't come out of this with a win as long as you just avoid turnovers.
Yeah. I tend to agree. Let's flip the tables now. Kayla and Clay. I'll start with you, Clay. Let's look at Drew's team, the Buffalo Bills, quickly. They take on the Pittsburgh Steelers at home. They're 6.5-point favorites, so just under a touchdown. Do you think the Steelers are going to struggle going into Buffalo, Clay?
I don't know. I mean, the Steelers were a weird team last year. What did they start off? 11-0?
Yeah.
And it wasn't like in the crazy fashion. And then they ended up losing, I believe it was 4 of the last 5 games, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, I think I feel like they're like in that like a happy medium there. And Big Ben, I don't think it's going to get any better at this point in his career. So, And the Bills are just obviously on a trajectory where people are seeing them as Super Bowl, like legitimate Super Bowl contenders. So I actually, if I had to put money on it, I think I would take the Bills 6.5. But like I said, I'm the biggest mush when it comes to betting. So if I'm saying it's probably not going to happen, but I do like the Bills this year, and I think they I think their offense is just going to be a little too much for a great Pittsburgh defense, but I think they're going to I think their offense is just too good compared to Pittsburgh's offense. The Pittsburgh's offensive line is just brutal, and I think that's the big thing.
Yeah. I just saw something pop up. I just saw a comment pop in about the 8.5 wins for Pittsburgh and betting the over on that. Mike Tomlin is one of these rare head coaches. Like, I don't think he gets enough love. The Steelers haven't had fewer than 9 wins for as long as he's been their head coach. It's one of the safest bets. If Vegas is out there saying that they're going to have under that, they're out of their minds. Why would you bet? I mean, he got more than 9 wins with Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph as his quarterback. At that point, I'll believe he can do anything. If they told me he could fly, I'd be inclined to believe it.
Yeah, I tend to agree there. I think never had a losing season under Mike Tomlin. It's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds, Kayla. Do you think, though, Buffalo should be favorites heading into this one?
Yeah, easily. I also think that the Steelers would be lucky to put up 10 points against them. I just don't see it happening. I think that the Steelers are going to win. It's going to have to be a lot of games where they're just holding their opponents to nothing, because I don't see how that offense is going to produce heavily. I think that Big Ben is like done, and for them to pretend that he's not is a little strange, honestly. I understand trying to like respect the long-term quarterback, but I don't know. If you really want to win, then I don't know why he's still there.
Sorry to cut you off, Kayla. A big shout out to Frankie. He has a super chat down the bottom. You might have just seen it there. He's over on Timeout. Make sure you check it out with Nick, with Bree. They do some awesome stuff over there. So Frankie, big shout out to you. Thanks for everything you're doing with U Stadium. Kayla, sorry I didn't mean to interrupt you. Keep going with where you were at.
Oh, no, all good. So, yeah, I just think the Bills, as much as I hate to say it and hate to see it, they're going to be a team to be reckoned with this year. And I think you saw the beginning of it, and I think it's only going up from here. I mean, as long as Josh Allen comes back and still plays like he did last season, I think that it's only going to get more and more difficult to beat them. So, and it hurts me inside to watch Josh Allen succeed so much, because for the longest time, I pushed the Josh Allen is a phony narrative, and I think I was wrong, and I hate that.
You want to talk about being wrong? So this is why Scott loves us, is because I'm unapologetically honest. I was in Jamaica at a destination wedding the year I got dragged to Jamaica during the draft, where they knew we were going to take our franchise quarterback. My wife knew this, her friend knew this, and they still planned a wedding. You know, how dare they?
Crazy.
And so we're at this resort, and it's the night of the rehearsal dinner, and the draft is going on. And I told my wife, I'm not going unless you let me bring my phone and watch it. I'll be discreet. I won't. No one else at the party will even know I'm on my phone, but I need to see this. I was a Josh Rosen stan. I thought Josh Allen was a fraud. When we took Josh Allen, my immediate response was I grabbed the nearest waiter and had him bring me 4 glasses of white rum on the rocks. And the night ended with me naked on the balcony of our room. Now, luckily we were on the top floor. My wife's telling me that I have to shut up and get inside. And she's like, you can't be out there without pants. And it's a famous quote of mine now. Pants are irrelevant.
Oh no, I need the end of the line. We've lost Drew momentarily. We'll see if we can. He's lost his pants are irrelevant when Josh Allen is your quarterback. Maybe. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I have a feeling that's where it was going. I'm not sure if we're going to get him backsplash. But if we don't, a huge thank you to Drew for coming on, talking about Shaq Lawson and just giving him an outside perspective to us of what a Buffalo fan and Buffalo podcaster thinks of the New York Jets. So, guys, what we're going to do now, let's move on to the Carolina game. It's the big news. It's what we're all wanting to see. I can't wait for this. What are we, 3 days away, 4 days away, depending on time zones and where you are in the world? What I wanted to start with was the matchup that we think is going to dictate the game. So which matchup, whether it be, 2 players or 2 position groups. And Kayla, I want to start with you. What do you think the key matchup is in the Jets versus Carolina match?
So I think that for weeks I've been saying that it's the Jets defensive line versus the Panthers offensive line. I think it's the best matchup for the Jets in terms of where their strengths lie versus the Panthers. That being said, if the Jets defensive line doesn't show up and deliver like we're hoping they do and are expecting them to, it's going to become about the Jets corners versus the Panthers receivers.
Yeah.
And so it's easy to say that, oh, one's more important than the other. But if that first one doesn't deliver, then it really gets flipped on its head. And so I'm saying I'm still going to go with the Jets defensive line, Panthers offensive line, simply for the fact that if that breaks down, then it changes what the game is, in my opinion. So if they can't hold it together on the defensive line, then I don't see how the defense is going to be able to keep it together. So it's still going to be the most important to me. But, the corners are going to have to put in some work. It's going to be a tough matchup for them.
Definitely. Clay, I'm guessing you agree, but give me a secondary thought as well.
Yeah, we spoke about it last week pretty shortly. So I think Kayla hit it on the head where, like, the trenches, it all comes down to that, especially on the Jets side. The Jets defensive side. They have to cause pressure in Sam Darnold's face. They have to knock him off his platform, just get him out of rhythm, anything to make sure that these really good playmakers that they have don't beat you. Because our cornerbacks, we still have to see what they are. Like we know that they're young, and we could probably guess they're bottom. I'll put it nicely, they're a bottom 5 cornerback group in the league.
That was polite.
Yeah. But like, you never know. There's always an undrafted free agent that comes out of nowhere in the NFL. So why can't our 5th or 6th round corner actually come out and just dominate right away? So you never know. So I'm holding out hope, but not gonna hold my breath. But also, I think it's our offensive line controlling their defensive line. The Panthers were not a great rush defense last year. I was just looking it up. They gave up 4.7 yards per carry. I think they were in the bottom half of the league in rushing yards last year. And we know that the Jets are Mekhi LaFleur will want to control the game and run the ball with our, I guess, 4 or 5 running back system that we got right now.
Yep.
So I think that's going to be another key part. And as Drew mentioned before, limiting the turnovers. The Panthers were not very good at turning the ball over last year. They only had 7 turnovers forced on the defensive side. And I have a feeling they're not going to make Wilson. They're not going to put Wilson in those situations to where that's going to happen. I think they're going to run the ball. They're going to do short plays. I know we all want to see the deep throw from Wilson just because he has a rocket of an arm, but I don't know if that happens in this game. But we'll see what happens. And they got Elijah Moore coming back on the field with Zach Wilson for the first time, which is going to be very, very exciting. Corey Davis obviously has gotten a little bit of connection with Wilson as well. So we'll see what happens. But I think the trenches, that's easily what it comes down to at the end of the day for me.
Yeah. Ryan, to answer your question, I think you have to start Ty Johnson if you're looking at a Jets running back this week, particularly early in the season. I think Michael Carter will get the lion's share of the carries later in the season, but right now with where the Jets backfield is at, it looks like Ty Johnson's going to be the 1A. He's been used in more short yardage situations. Robert Saleh has liked his development there, running over his shoulder pads and finishing. We saw that against the Eagles a couple of times in the last preseason game, so that's my tip. Back to the original question, my most important matchup, I like the 2 that you guys both mentioned, but I'm going to say Mekhi Becton versus Brian Burns. Brian Burns is their best defensive player. He's going to be so important controlling him and giving Zach Wilson time, because in the preseason, Zach Wilson wasn't pressured. We didn't see how he reacted under pressure because realistically, the Jets' offensive line did a great job. So I'm intrigued to see how that all plays out and if they can keep Zach Wilson clean, because if they don't, then it's going to be tough for a rookie quarterback, no matter how good the weapons are around him compared to what Sam Darnold had.
Yeah, I also want to throw out one more. Sorry, real quick.
Go for it.
Also looking at Christian McCaffrey against our linebackers too.
Yeah.
Because we have 2 right now. I'm sure we're not going to be playing a ton of 4-3. I'm sure we'll be playing a lot of nickel and dime and whatever. Yeah. But and Christian McCaffrey against Hamza Nasruddin and Jamien Sherwood in particular. Those are 2 matchups that we're going to have to focus on, because we know what McCaffrey can do. And Sherwood, I believe, no, not his last performance. I don't know if he even played against the Eagles, but against the Packers, he struggled. He took some bad angles, missed some tackles, didn't complete tackles that he had. So I think that's going to be a huge matchup that we need to at least make. We just can't get beat terribly by McCaffrey. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, keep an eye on that one as well.
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey had 7 receptions or more in 9 out of the 16 games in 2019. Obviously, last year he played 3 or 4 games and was banged up. But yeah, it's going to be a dangerous matchup with the Jets linebackers, the rookies. As you said, he really struggled against Philadelphia, let in a touchdown, tried to drag down Jalen Reagor, I think it was, and he got back up and continued on his run. So definitely some things to be concerned about there. Yeah, you're right. So let's talk a little betting now. I know it's difficult to do. We just mentioned we're all not great at it, but I'll kick us off here. My best bet for the New York Jets this week, I like the Jets at the line. We just talked about it with Drew. 5.5 is a lot of points. I think this is going to be a 3 to 4 point game either way. But what I like is I like teasing the 2 Super Bowl favorites. So I want to put in head-to-head Kansas City and also Tampa Bay. So my multi that I have on now is the Jets plus 5.5 into Kansas City and into Tampa Bay head to head. So that takes it from like a 2 to 1 bet to like a 3.5 to 1. So kind of plus 350 odds. So that's my best bet. Clay, what do you think? Give me a prediction or bet that you think could happen on Sunday.
Question. Do you have me right now? Because my screen is frozen.
I can hear you. I can't see you. No, I can't see you or hear you. That's okay. Kayla, let's move on. We'll go with you. Give me a prediction for the Jets game, something you think's a good chance of happening.
All right. So definitely not a big betting person. I know we just said that, but something I'm looking to learn a little more this season. But I'm going to just give a fun one and just say I'm going to say that Elijah Moore scores the first touchdown. I think that they brought up to get us all excited. I think that it's a bomb from Wilson and Moore, and I think that it's just going to be something to get fans pumped about the season and keep people tuned in and excited. And I think that it's going to play out that way perfectly because Elijah Moore is an unknown to most teams, being that he's a rookie. So I think that they can use him in a way that people won't be expecting, and he can slide right in there first score of the season.
If Elijah Moore has the first touchdown of the year, I think Jets fans are going to be buying Super Bowl tickets at quarter time of that game. So that could be interesting. Very excited to see if Elijah Moore can be that guy and not just be the guy between the 20s, but also in the red zone with his quick separation and things like that. So that's going to be interesting to watch. I also think the line is, the over-under is 45.5 for the Jets. So you're looking at a game that's like, 23-26. That would be over, for example. I think there's going to be plenty of points in this game, Kayla. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets defense obviously struggles for reasons we already mentioned with the secondary. But I don't think the Panthers are a lockdown defense yet either. Do you think this is going to be a high-scoring game?
I think it does have potential to be a high-scoring game. I think, too, that, the Jets offense, we don't know what we're going to see from them yet, obviously. I mean, with the new quarterback, the new scheme, and a bunch of young players, and our biggest receiver is still a new addition. It's Corey Davis. So you think about it like that. And I think that it'll probably still be high scoring, like I said, too, about Elijah Moore for maybe lack of tape, because they're not really going to know how to perfectly defend this Jets offense. There's not much out there on them. But I think also, too, there's just a lot of skill there. And I think we're going to see them take advantage of that. And the Panthers defense is young. I think one of the advantages they have is how heavily they've invested in the defense. But at the end of the day, they're still not very experienced. And Matt Rule is still a pretty new head coach. I'm a big fan of Matt Rule. I really wanted him to coach the Jets a couple of years ago.
Yep.
But I do think that it's got a lot of potential to be a high-scoring game, given lack of experience on defense all around.
Yeah, I agree. Clay, bet with Play Like a Jet. What have you got for me?
All right, so what did I miss?
Kayla's bet was Elijah Moore to score the first touchdown. We were talking about how excited Jets fan would be for that. And then we were just mentioning the line being at 45.5 and if we think it'll be over or under. So what have you got for us?
Over under. Actually, before we started recording, I was saying that part of me likes the over. I mean, I know, I feel like week one teams typically don't score as much, especially the Jets. But neither defense is that great. And I think there can be some splash plays on both sides to where this could be a higher scoring game. I don't think 27-20 is out of the question from either side. I don't 24-23. I think it can be that kind of game. So I think I'm gonna go with the over, but ever so slightly.
I love it. Did you have any other predictions you wanted to make about the game?
I think the Jets, maybe not a bet, but I think the Jets will have 3 running backs with 40 yards or more.
Whew. Okay, ground and pound. Rex Ryan taking over the Robert Saleh era. I wouldn't be surprised either. Mike LaFleur is going to want to run the ball, so I could definitely see that happening. Wanted to pivot a little bit, guys and girls, and talk about the most important matchups and who the most important player is on the field in the Jets versus Carolina game from a New York Jets perspective. So let's just focus on us. We're the Play Like a Jet live team. So, Kayla, who do you think the most important Jet is going into Sunday's clash? Sorry, minus Zach Wilson.
Minus Zach Wilson. Okay,
Yeah.
So then I'm going to say CJ Mosley. And for the reason of he's now team captain, he's supposed to be this big leader. And if he shows up, especially after his very limited play since he signed with the Jets, I think that if he shows up and doesn't look ready to play, then that's a little bit demoralizing for the team, especially the defense, because this guy has come in, he's talked a big game about how he wants to return to the top and be among the best linebackers in the league. And if he shows up and looks not ready, I don't know what that even means to the rest of the team, because the other linebackers are inexperienced. They're looking to him. I mean, they're probably going to be relying on the linebackers with a guy like McCaffrey out there. So if he can't play his best, or at least look like he's ready to play for this season, then I would be extremely concerned.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys heard, actually, CJ Mosley is going to be starting as the Sam linebacker this year. They're going to start Sherwood as the Mike. So, look, in today's NFL, they're such interchangeable pieces, but I found that a little bit interesting. I think that was a great one, Kayla. Clay, who have you got as the most important New York Jet on Sunday?
So because I'm almost certain that Brian Burns lines up over the right tackle, I'm going to say George Fant and or Morgan Moses, whoever starts, because they haven't even announced it yet. I think keeping Brian Burns in check is going to be vital for the passing game, just because Wilson, we still haven't seen him under legitimate pressure. Yeah, he hasn't been hit, he hasn't been sacked, and Brian Burns is their best sack artist on that team. So I'm going to say, I'm just going to say the offensive tackle that's blocking Brian Burns. Whether it's Mekhi Becton or one of the other two. It's because he can get to the quarterback pretty much any given play. And I just want to see our quarterback stay healthy, stay clean, and actually, and not get rushed into things and possibly force a turnover. So, like I said, because we haven't seen him under pressure, outside of a couple throws. But he's playing a lot more than one quarter and 2 drives this time around. He's actually playing all 4 quarters. So I think keeping Brian Burns in check is the most important thing.
Yeah, it's going to be crucial. You guys, you're watching Play Like a Jet live with You Stadium. Thanks so much for your support. We're talking about the Carolina versus New York Jets game that's going to be happening on Sunday, week 1 of the 2021 season. And we're talking about the most important players. For me, where else could I go but Quinn Williams? I don't know if you know who he's lining up against, but it's going to be Pat Elflein opposite Quinn Williams at the left guard spot. There's a good chance that either Sam Darnold or Elflein may actually die on the field, I think, because he didn't look particularly good in pass protection last year. He's really struggled in Minnesota as well. So Quinn Williams is going to have a field day. I talked to John Ellis, who's a Panthers reporter, and he has a podcast, does fantastic stuff for a new segment that I'm putting out on our YouTube channel with Play Like a Jet called Flight into Enemy Territory. And he talked about the left side of the line is Cam Irvine, who's been a replacement level player in Dallas and a couple of other stops before that. You have Pat Elflein, and then now their right guard goes down on the COVID list. I think Quinn Williams is going to be a humongous influence in the game. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, I was actually going to say Quinn Williams. So I'm glad I didn't, so we can get your little tidbit about it. But
for the brand,
for the brand, absolutely. But no, I mean, I think you hit it. Just Quinn, if he doesnning get pressure, I feel like we're in big trouble, because that interior offensive line is brutal, and the guards in particular. Paradis isn't terrible. I know we all wanted him when he was a free agent a couple years ago, but. And I think Quinn, if he's able to get pressure, that'll make it so much easier on the secondary and on the defensive ends in general. So Quinn Williams absolutely I would say is the most important outside of the tackles, in my opinion.
Zachary, I've got an answer for you on this one. I don't know if you guys have some thoughts on the explosive plays. I think Elijah Moore will have the first 20-plus yard run and pass of the 2021 season.
Oh, okay.
Little Jeff Smith roll, little end and around, something like that. I can just see it. Look, they may not both happen in the same game. I'm not sure how explosive will be in the running, if it's going to be more 7 to 10 yard gains. I'm not sure, but I'm going to say both Elijah Moore.
Okay. Kayla, you can go for this one.
No, I definitely think Elijah Moore on the pass. That's for sure. It's going right along with my first touchdown take. That's going to happen. But gosh, the run makes it tough. I don't necessarily think this is going to happen, but I hope it's Josh Adams.
That'll be good. I like that. Hopefully we're just running down the clock because we're up by 20 late in the game and Josh Adams is getting his snaps in and, you got to do some work. Clay, anything different from you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to be boring and just go with Ty Johnson and Corey Davis. Okay. I think Corey Davis, obviously, he has something with Zach and in game, not just in practice, but in game. And I think he's just the easy pick to get a 20-yard reception. Yep. And then Ty Johnson, his explosiveness, because he is the most explosive running back on the roster. I think that'll ultimately lead to a 20-yard run. Because was it last year where you only had like 3 runs of like 20 or more? And didn't he have 2 of them or something?
I believe you're right.
I think so. I think they were both against Vegas, or one against Vegas and one against Miami or something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember. I don't want to remember. It was that bad.
No.
But I'm going to go with Ty Johnson. I think he's the most likely, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Corey Davis had a couple of those big gains, as you mentioned, against the Packers. He had the broken play down the right touchline and then had the double post play where he was lined up on the outside to Zach Wilson's left. So you've seen it already in effect. So that's a little bit about the explosive plays. What about the X factor? So I want to talk about the biggest X factor, someone who, look, they may not play well, they may play well, but if they hit the upper side of their ceiling, that's going to have a huge influence on the game. What are we thinking as far as X factors? I'll kick this one off. I haven't thought about it. I'm just going off the cuff. I think the biggest X factor for the New York Jets this week, this is probably boring, is Sheldon Rankins. I know I already talked about the defensive line and Quinn Williams. I'm not sure what we're going to see from Sheldon Rankins. He hasn't been on the field yet. He missed some time during camp. But again, the weakness of the interior offensive line for the Panthers, and if he's explosive and lets John Franklin Myers play on an edge and do a role there, I think that could be huge for the Jets.
Yeah, Kayla, you can go if you have one in mind.
You're stalling, eh?
Sure, I'll take this.
I'm trying to narrow mine down.
I have to say might be a bit of an unpopular take, but I think that it's probably Bryce Hall. I mean, we've all been sitting around talking about how we're concerned about these matchups. If he shows up and plays really well, then that changes the game for us as well. So I think that if he can go out there and whoever he's covering, I don't know, probably Robbie. Is that how they're going to line them up?
I guess so.
It's kind of to be determined, but if he can shut down Robbie or something, then that would definitely change the game. That would make it a whole different ordeal. And if we can have some faith in our CB1, then I think that we have less to worry about. But I don't know how likely that is. But I would think that would change things.
That would be huge. Clay, have you managed to come up with one yet?
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping that would kind of narrow mine down even more, so I didn't have to go use the same name. But honestly, I'm not going to say Bryce Hall, but I am going to say just one cornerback in particular. If one cornerback could just not be horrid, that'll make it easier on the rest of the defense. Because Bryce Hall, I don't think he'll be terrible, but and I think Salah's going to do a good job of not putting them in bad positions. So yeah, I'll all right. Opposite Bryce Hall, I'm just going to go with right now Guidry's the starting nickel. I was hoping it was going to be Michael Carter the second, but I'll say Guidry, because Guidry, and I think he's going to have a tough task with guarding Terrace Marshall, who had a really good preseason as a rookie. And if it's not him, then it's most likely DJ Moore, who we know what he can do. He's a Pro Bowler in this league, and he's a damn good receiver. So I think Guidry is going to have his hands full, no matter who he's lining up against. And we just need one corner to not be bad. And I think that will definitely help the rest of the defense. But I think we're all on the same side of things. We need someone on the defense to step up.
Definitely. I'm going to do a quick fire round now. Who are you most concerned about? Kayla, I'll start with you. Are you more concerned about Hamza Nasruddin versus Christian McCaffrey in pass coverage, or Brandon Eccles on Robbie Anderson or DJ Moore?
I got to say Brandon Eccles on this one. I just don't think we've seen enough from him. I mean, it's unfortunate because if it was any other running back, I would say Nasruddin is going to be okay. I think he'll prove himself, but Christian McCaffrey is not the one you want to start with. So, but I'm still going to say Eccles. I think that he'll have a much tougher time because those guys are really good on the outside.
Clay?
I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to say National Dean on McCaffrey. McCaffrey is the best receiving running back in this league. I don't care what anyone says. And Hamza, like he is playing a new position. This is his first game going against the best. So he's definitely in the toughest spot. So yeah, I'm going to go with Hamza defending McCaffrey.
Okay, who are you most excited to see? Clay, I'm going to start with you. Who are you most No, hold on. Let me finish. Come on. Who are you most excited to watch play? The second year of Mekhi Becton or the first year of Elijah Vera Tucker?
Actually, because I thought you were going to say hold on because I couldn't use Elijah Moore, I was instantly going to go to Elijah Vera Tucker. So yes, Elijah Vera Tucker for sure. Everyone should know by now how excited I was when they drafted him. Like he was my guy through and through. Both Elijahs were, and being able to see him in a game situation in green and white for the first time is very exciting. And he'll probably be going against Derek Brown a good portion of this game, and that's going to be a great matchup. 2 top 15 picks, just going head to head, and I can't wait. I can't wait to see Vera Tucker. I don't know where my eyes are honestly going to be going the entire game, like when we're on offense. Like I want to watch Becton, I want to watch Tucker, I want to watch Moore, and obviously, I want to watch Zach Wilson. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to be all over the field, but yes, I'll between the two, I'll go with Elijah Vera Tucker.
A different one for you, Kayla. Who are you more concerned about? Greg Van Roten at right guard, or the fact that the Jets haven't named their right tackle yet and no one outright won that position? Which one of those two spots is more concerning to you?
I would say Van Roten, simply because I think that Saleh is not naming the tackle just for the sake of not naming it. Like, I think that he probably knows exactly who he wants there. Not that there's been like an outright winner, like you said, but I think that at this point he knows. He's not still deciding for Sunday. He's just not naming it to not name it. And that's fine. Be my guest. But Van Roten's probably a little bit more concerning. I don't think we've seen enough consistency or stability from him so far. So,
fair enough.
I want to touch on that too. Like, I think it's actually a pretty good point that Kayla brought up. Like him not naming it, I think that's just the competitive edge that he's gaining. Like now they have to game plan for not Mover Moses, but not George Fant either. They have to game plan for both of them and make sure, like, all right, what can we do to be better against the opposition? Same thing with corner. Like you gotta plan for Pinnock, Dunn, and Eccles. Granted, none of them are that great, but but you still got a game plan for 3 of them. So and any competitive edge that we can get, keep it.
Yeah, you may even see Javelin Guidry on the outside if you believe Robert Saleh. Maybe they think, even though there's a huge height differential, maybe they think Robbie Anderson's a good matchup for him. Obviously a quick guy, but he's only 5'9". Robbie Anderson's like 6'2", 6'3", but he's not a big physical, high point the ball kind of receiver. So look, if that does end up happening, I guess we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But definitely some concern around the corners and the right side of the offensive line, particularly the right guard spot. Let's finish with some predictions, guys. Give me a score prediction of what you think the score will be. Obviously, that will dictate the winner as well. And how many touchdowns do you think Zach Wilson will throw in the game? Clay, let's start with you. You're not getting around this one, handballing it to Kayla. Who do you think wins? What's the score? And how many touchdowns for Zach?
All right. Touchdowns for Zach. I'll start with that one. I think he'll throw for 1. I think he'll throw for 1 this game. And then I think we'll get 1, maybe 2 rushing touchdowns from the running backs. I'm going to say we win. Yes, I'm on the Jets. I'm going to say the Jets win. No, I brought up the score before. I think it's going to be a really close game. I'm going to say 24-23.
Okay, that is tight. I'm going to have a heart attack live here in my lounge room. Terrific. Kayla, what do you think?
All right, so I'm going to go 28-24 for the score. I'm giving it to the Jets. I don't think Robert Saleh is losing to Sam Darnold in his coaching debut. I don't see it happening. I'm going to say Zach throws 2. And then I think for the Panthers, McCaffrey scores 2 touchdowns too. So
okay. I did a prediction video the other day for Play Like a Jets YouTube. Make sure you're subscribing. We're about to hit 1,000 there, so jump over. We need, I think, 16 left, so make sure you head over. My score prediction was very, very close to yours, Kayla. I had Jets 27, Panthers 24, so hopefully we'll see 2 made field goals from Amendola. He's a big unknown. Obviously, Borregales actually did get released momentarily like we all wanted, but the Jets stuck with Amendola. So 24-27, Zach Wilson to throw 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and I think a rushing touchdown to Ty Johnson as well. So that's how I think this will play out. Guys, give me your overarching thoughts, your nerves. What are you going to leave us with today heading into Jets-Panthers?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start off. I'm just obviously these last 2 years have been so brutal to watch, just week in and week out. Especially last year, like I didn't want to watch at all. Like I couldn't remember the last time I actually purposely missed a Jets game before last year. I don't think it's ever happened. And maybe a Bryce Petty game, but this year is it's just completely different. Where I'm so excited, and not just that, but like I'm actually optimistic. I'm not cautiously optimistic. I'm actually optimistic for the future of this team. Maybe I'm not expecting the playoffs or anything this year, but just knowing where this is headed and like the leadership that we have from the front office down to the head coach to our captains, I think we're in a really good spot moving forward. And I think obviously week 1 is just the beginning. So I can't wait to see what happens. And yeah, I mean, you guys can get to what you want to say, yeah, I was also going to ask you guys too, before I forget, who do you think gets Zach Wilson's first career touchdown?
Well, Kayla said Elijah Moore for first touchdown of the game,
Right,
so she's set. I'm going to say, I think Corey Davis. I think Corey Davis will have some kind of fade or a little short corner to the back of the end zone. I think it'll be Corey Davis having the first touchdown of the year, but I think Elijah Moore will get the second one.
Yeah, I don't know. I go back to when Mark Sanchez had his first touchdown to Chancey Stuckey.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be something weird like that. I feel like it's going to be like Keelan Cole or
Knew you were going to say
Tyler
Keelan Cole.
Denzel Mims, 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
That'd be insane.
Well, guys, it's going to be super exciting. I can't wait for it. I think that's the best word we use, exciting. As you mentioned, Clay, there was none of that last year. It was just dreading the season was going to be over and hoping we didn't win a game. That was my perspective anyway. I wanted to lose out and get Trevor Lawrence, but obviously super happy with how it worked out with Zach Wilson. Fingers crossed he can be successful. A huge thank you to everyone for watching our last episode of Play Like a Jet Live before the season gets started. We're here with U Stadium. Thanks to our producer Splash, as always. Make sure you check out everything that U Stadium's doing. Like them on Facebook, on Twitter. Subscribe on YouTube. Not just our show, but the shows on the 49ers, the Cowboys, the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, Play Like a Jet Live, Timeout. You've got Sports Desk with Splash, who does a fantastic job there. There's a ton of great content. A new college show coming on college football as well. Kayla, I know that's an area you love, so make sure you're checking out everything with U Stadium. With Play Like a Jet Now team, we've got Pacers Playbook over on our YouTube channel, some videos that I've put together, and then of course Scott Mason's podcast. Make sure you're listening to that 5-star review. He does a great job. He's about the only guy I can think of that does a podcast every single day. Incredible content, so make sure you're checking it out. Guys, that will do us. We have made it. Next time we'll be speaking with the post game on Sunday night, Monday morning for me. Let's hope we're celebrating a Jets win. Can't wait for it. Kayla, Clay, thank you guys. And we'll see you next week with Play Like a Jet Live.